Let's talk about PQRS again, the quality reporting system. A PQRS service is similar to a regular service, except that one is not expected to receive money on that submission. The PQRS service conveys information to the payer related to the status of the patient. So PQRSs are slightly different, yet they are processed as normal claims, as normal charges. Now, I was watching a user doing the following sequence: 99214, so the main service, and I don't remember the diagnosis, but I'll pick one. Okay. And this was saved with a save plus plus, which means take this one, write this one to disk, and set me up the next one on the same patient. Okay. And the following that this user did is G8 427. This is a PQRS, so this is a service that is not supposed to be paid, but conveys to the payer that medications were documented. Okay, fine. Do another one. G9903. It's not a tobacco user. And that Xmatic user also did. Okay, and this is the end of the cycle. This showed to me that this user does not actually understand or is not familiar with the special PQRS capabilities that Xmatic has under cases. Because although these charges are regularly created and will be uploaded and will be considered as PQRS by the payer, they are not treated by Xmatic as full PQRSs. Now, let's save this again. Here we have those charges. I project those to services. Store those as a set. Not the 99214, but the 3 PQRSs. Store as a set. Okay. And why do I want to go here? Because you see, a PQRS service in Xmatic needs to be flagged with a checkbox, PQRS, so that Xmatic knows that this service needs to be treated separately. I do understand that this Xmatic user uses the 0.1 or the 1 cent standard fee as a recognition of a PQRS, but not in all cases the PQRS checkbox is on. So let's clean this up first. Command N, standard fee equals 0, and then we get all the PQRSs that this user apparently has under control, and put all of those in PQRS state. So modify Physician's Quality Reporting System checkbox in true. So now we have the full set of PQRSs labeled in Xmatic for exception treatment. We already had 3 stored on disk. Let's make sure that we have those in this set. So we can say add to stored set. And now we have all the PQRSs that we eventually want to talk about. Okay, so this is done. Now I prefer to actually delete this charge and do it again, do the same thing again, but now under cases. So we open a case of charges. Patient, Aram, Aranda, okay. And we pick the same primary service. We need a diagnosis. Okay. And now we have to talk about the possibility to embed in a service another service for execution. So we open this service in input form, and we see here we have the possibility to include services in here, which means when we select this service on the case input form, all of these services will be consulted for charge generation. Okay, so 99214. And well, let's also do another one, because you can have more regular services. Yeah, sometimes I see here 10, 15 services representing one specific case, but let's do 2 regular services, and we can now enter these G9214. So we add into this main service not only an additional regular service, but we also add 3 services that are flagged as PQRS. So let's take a look now what we can do with this case of charges, now that we have previously revisited the services and subservices. In order for this case of charges to be recalculated, we can type 99214 tab, and Xmatic will respond by saying, okay, if you request 99214, I have the following services for you to consider. Let's say we want both to be billable. We send them back into Xmatic, and then Xmatic says, wait a minute, I see that you have the following PQRS services as subservices in the 99214. Do you want them to be uploaded? Suppose we want this one and this one to be uploaded in this particular case. So we send this back, and then Xmatic will respond by saying, I have those 2 production charges ready for you with charged amounts, and I have 2 PQRSs in the case that will not actually require a payment to come back, an adjudication to come back. let's save this. Suppose we are in agreement. By the way, before we move on, remember I retyped the service here to re-trigger the creation of the necessary charges. I could also have clicked on this button, which is the equivalent of retyping the service number. And I could also have clicked on this button, which is the same as this button, which again simply re-enters the case service name. This service on the case level we call the title or the master. Let's take a quick look at the master, and then now we understand why these services were presented to us, because they were embedded as subservices in the master service. Okay, let's save this, and now let's take a look at what we have. Here we have the charges, and we see that those two, the PQRSs, are immediately in final state. Why is that? Because Xmatic knows that we're not waiting for money. Xmatic knows that a PQRS will be submitted immediately, regardless of insurance, and will be closed upon first upload immediately. That is to clean all these PQRS submissions out of the charges, open charges system, to maintain a proper view on the really billable or receivable charges. Now let's take a look at the claims that are actually being uploaded, and here again we see that these two, let's go into the, see, they have been made non-assigned, so we're not expecting money, there's no money assigned to us, and they have the PQRS checkbox on, identifying these claims in the database as being PQRS